What is the biggest problem affecting your PDR business? What is the one thing holding you back from taking the next step? What do you need to change to get the business growth you want? All these questions have the same answer. It's your mindset. My name is Corey Kleinfeld, and this is the PDR Coach Podcast, where I coach you on mindset around yourself and your PDR business. Now let's get started. Welcome back to the PDR Coach Podcast. Today on the podcast, I want to talk about something that I guess I've kind of learned about myself over the last probably couple of years, but really in the last week or so. And it's just me solo today. I'll get back to interviews here soon, but sometimes I have to get these things off my mind so I can move on to my next topic or my next thought. If I'm good at anything, I think I'm a good dent tech. I'm relatively smart, but I don't excel in those areas. I'll never be the best technician out there. I'm not going to be the smartest guy in the room. But I think something that I'm really good at, and then I think other people can get at it too, is I'm good at transitioning from one thing to the next. And I've learned this about myself over time, and I've confirmed it recently with a few other people. Some that just told me that they see me that way, and then others I've asked, and they're like, "Oh yeah." In my personal life, I'm able to transition from one thing to the next. I can go to work, I can come home, and I can be in dad mode. I can be in husband mode. I can work on something, a project, and then play with my kids right after that for 30 minutes, and then go back to the project. And there's no lag time in between. And this is just a skill apparently that I've acquired over time, and it helps a lot at work because I can be fixing dents and or talking to people. I can fix dents, do a sales call, and then do some marketing emails, and then do a social media post, and then record a podcast, and then go back to fix dents, and then do a coaching call. And I'm able to transition quickly to those things. And I just started thinking about this a lot. And I think that it's a skill that is good to have in business. And I think that can be practiced, especially nowadays. Other words, I call it transitioning, because I'm not smart to think of something cooler. Other people call it pivoting in business, I guess. Maybe that's one way to put it. Or like my mentor, Ed Milet, recently said, business agility, which I like way better. So business agility. How can your business be agile? How can you be agile in being able to do many things in a day, switching from one thing to the next? Not multitasking, because we all know that multitasking doesn't work. You can't do two complete things at one time. But you can do one thing, stop and do the next thing, stop and do the next thing. And if it can take you, 10 seconds to transition from one thing to the next, that's great. Some people that I've talked to recently have a hard time going from one thing. They have to get in the right frame of mind. They have to get ready for it. And then it takes a long time to transition from one thing to the next. And I think if you work on that, it serves you in business. Business agility. So in 2020, businesses needed to be really, really agile, right? So the best thing I could think of is restaurants. The restaurants that were able to be very agile and come up with a to-go pickup thing, or a to-go orders or deliveries or whatever, stayed in business. I read recently 100,000 restaurants, drink shops, whatever that is. I don't know what it defined exactly. I just read something about it. A lot of restaurants went out of business, probably because they weren't agile. It's not that people didn't want to eat out anymore. Well, they didn't want to eat out in the restaurant, a lot of people, but it's not that they didn't want to make food. There's a lot of restaurants that actually thrived and made more money because they're agile. So how can we take that thought, that idea, bring it into your personal life, and then bring it into your business life? A definition of agility is the ability to move quickly and easily, or the ability to think and understand quickly. So both of those things can be practiced. You can learn to understand, and I don't even think it's understanding. I think people understand stuff. I think they're just scared to make decisions quickly. I think you get it, but you're like, man, if I do this though, then this other thing, could happen. And what dominoes does that move and blah, blah. I think that, it's the decision. So I would say business agility is to be able to make a business decision quickly. So, no, realizing that your business is going to get shut down for indoor dining, can you that night or that very hour decide you're going to put up a tent outside, or decide you're going to do to-go orders or pickup, which you've never done before, and then solve that problem and implement it in a matter of 24, 48 hours, 72 hours? Can in your business now, if you lose a big dealership or lose some body shops or whatever, can you be agile enough to switch to something else to keep the business going? Can you add services in your business to keep it going? Can you hire someone as an employee or a contractor? Can you spend more money on marketing? Can you, what can you do in those situations? Can you be agile in your personal life, in your mind, in decision-making, and in your business? And I think that's a great skill to put some thought into, to learn how you could get better at that. I think one of the biggest things you need to do is be able to understand business and understand the metrics in your business. In order to make a decision quickly and be agile with that, you have to understand the metrics, and you have to understand exactly where everything is. So knowing that's why we've implemented things like the CRM system, and Mobile Tech RX. Being up to date on all of those things in real time matters the most. Accounting and P&Ls aren't going to give you those metrics that you need to make decisions on a quick basis. And also the profit first method for kind of bank accounting, I would say. Profit First, the book from Mike Michalowicz. So you need to understand business, you need to have real-time metrics, and you need to have understand the pulse of the industry, of your business, of the market, to know what to do. So practice making decisions quickly, understanding things and being able to pick a direction and go, and then understand the metrics of your business on a day-to-day or at least a week-to-week, and then pay attention to how the industry is changing, how business is changing, how people purchase things, how the world changes around you. And try to do this without being upset about how the world is changing. So the next thing that people are going to get upset about how the world is changing is the metaverse. That's going to change the way we do everything probably in the world over the next, decade or so. A lot of people are mad about it. And I get that. Could it hurt society? Yes. Will it make people more lazy, more addiction to their phones and headsets, and living outside the real world and not in living outside the real world, not in the real world? Yeah, it could potentially do all those things. But how can that metaverse, the augmented reality, the fake, it's not fake, but the digital world help your business, right? The businesses that can see how the world is going, whether they like it or not, and transition, be quick and agile to take advantage of those things, win, right? Just go back to the restaurants. No restaurant like that they got shut down by an order. I think that was probably one of the worst things that's ever happened in American history as far as stripping freedoms away. But what did they do about it? Did they sit and complain about it? That's not fair. I'm gonna, be mad that the politicians can do that, try to change the politicians, all that stuff out of the control. No, they didn't. Some did, but some created another option and stayed in business. So anyways, things change, the world changes, politicians change, policies change, taxes change, freedom changes, money changes, like crypto and other things. How we interact with each other changes, mass, metaverse, etc. Everything can change. Your business is either growing or it's shrinking. It can never stay the same. You need to be agile. And the reason it can never stay the same is because everything else is always changing. So if you think you're just going to coast out and stay where you are and have everything be the same, it might be for a little while, but in months or years, enough around you will have changed that your business will have changed as well. And if you're not working on it, it's usually for the worse. So those are my thoughts and my sentiments on what's going on. Business agility, work on it, think about it, work on making quicker decisions, work on understanding your metrics in your business and moving quickly. So that's what I'm working on next year. That's a big focus of mine, is instead of looking around the industry and finding out looking at what's wrong with it and pointing it out. Customers don't know about us. It's hard to scale with PDR techs, whatever other excuse that we have. I'm not going to mention that. I'm not going to look at it that way at all. I'm going to look at what I can do to solve that and be agile in my business and grow it. So that's my thoughts. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to another episode of the PDR Coach Podcast. If you got any value from this podcast and want to do something for me, then the best way to do that is to subscribe to the podcast and give me a rating and review. If you want to know more about me, then you can find me on Instagram by searching for the PDR Coach, or find me on my website at coachcoryk.com, CORYK.com. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back next week.